Good evening. I'm Spot On Weather meteorologist Matthew Euler, and tonight we're going to talk about the Arctic Express will be on its way again to Southeast Virginia. It's going to happen pretty much on the timeline we talked about. After 27 January, the temperatures are going to get much colder. So let's roll right into the long-range outlook with a focus on the colder pattern reversal after 27 January. So we're going to start off with the forecast valid this upcoming Tuesday, 24 January. What we have going on is a 988, a fairly deep or intense low pressure system, storm system, that is offshore, off the mid-Atlantic. Most of the rain shower activity will be winding down. We're expecting most of the rain to be done actually by midday Tuesday for sure. And then we'll have some drier air that will be moving in behind this departing low pressure system as it moves off to the north and east. You can see there's a little bit of a snowstorm up there over Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, into New York State. So they are going to get a little bit of a snowstorm out of this. Looking at the jet stream positioning, the main jet stream axis is pretty much focused right through New Mexico, Kansas, Iowa, Northern Illinois, and then it becomes more of a ridge over the southeast United States. So you have some very mild temperatures beneath this ridge. Winds at this time over southeast Virginia are going to be mainly out of the northwest as this departing low pressure system moves off. But we do have some higher wind speeds off over Kansas at this time within the jet stream itself. There is troughing over the northern Rocky states at this time. Moving on to Wednesday, 25 January. You'll see that Southeast Virginia still remains dry. There is a little weaker storm system that is moving into the Great Lakes region with some rain showers over Indiana into lower Michigan. And then you have snow on the backside of the storm over Wisconsin, southern Minnesota, and Iowa. Again, we're dry for Southeast Virginia on Wednesday. Looking at the jet stream, we have a straight north to south wind component for the jet stream from Western Canada into California, the trough axis mainly over the southwest United States, and the colder conditions are going to be spilling in. The colder temperatures will spill into the base of this trough over the northern plains into the Rocky Mountain states. Over Southeast Virginia, meanwhile, the main jet stream axis is mostly from the west-southwest, the southwest winds, which will keep very mild temperatures still in play for Southeast Virginia on Wednesday, midweek this next week. Moving now to Thursday, the 26th of January, still looking dry here over Southeast Virginia. Now I want you to pay attention. I'm going to zoom in on it. The blue lines, these blue dashed lines, represent much colder air. You have a 540 decameter thickness line, and that is usually your rain-snow line. Anything south of this, east of the Mississippi River, usually results in rain. If you're north of this 540 decameter line, you will mainly have snow. So we're starting to see the leading edge of an Arctic cold front. This is on Thursday morning, the 26th of January. The leading edge of the Arctic cold front is over northern Virginia and is starting to approach our area here in Southeast Virginia. The winds are starting to become more from the northwesterly direction. In fact, there's lake effect snow downwind of Lakes Erie and Ontario into New York State by Thursday, later in the week, by Thursday. So this Arctic front is sitting here, okay? And looking at the jet stream positioning, now we're starting to see more amplification of the jet stream to where you're getting a deeper trough. The winds are becoming more westerly now, more west to east, more zonal over Southeast Virginia at this time. This is going to be a transition day, the 26th of January. Thursday will begin to more of a transition day as the pattern starts flipping to colder. By Friday the 27th of January, now Friday the 27th of January is our target date here at Spot On Weather for a change in the weather. You can see there will be some rain shower activity. An area of low pressure is trying to develop along the leading edge of the strong colder air mass that's spilling down into the southeastern United States. All right. So there are some scattered snow showers to the west of our area over the Appalachians into West Virginia and to Pennsylvania. There's a lot of rain basically just to our south and east at this time. And this again is the leading edge of the Arctic cold air mass. It's going to be a very strong cold front, and northwesterly winds behind the front at the surface will blow in much colder air into Southeast Virginia. Okay, so the morning will probably start off fairly mild, 50s, low 50s, and then the temperatures will fall throughout the afternoon as that cold front moves through. Looking at the purple colors here, you're looking at 140 to 160 knots, a higher speed maximum within the main jet axis itself. You see more of a deepening trough now over the Midwestern United States, and again more of a west-southwest to westerly flow at 30,000 feet over Virginia. Moving on now to 28 January. I want to emphasize that this cold is coming in, and we'll really feel it starting the 28th of January. And beyond 28 January, that's when, basically between 28 January and 5 February, is how long we expect this cold to persist. So we can expect temperatures in the upper 30s to lower 40s, as warm as the mid 40s, but that'll be about it. And then temperatures at night in the upper 20s, lows overnight in the upper 20s to the middle 30s. Take a look at this little Alberta Clipper type system. And if you watch a previous video we put on here, Spot On Weather, I talk about the February Snowmaker video, and we're referencing Alberta Clipper, these type of storm systems that originate in Alberta, Canada, and move southeast along the leading edge of the cold air. Look at your thickness lines at this point. This is 31 January, by the way. This is a little bit further out. There is an area of low pressure offshore trying to organize. Southeast Virginia is still dry, but very cold. There's a 1,026 millibar high over the St. Lawrence River Valley. So again, very cold air is coming in. This jet stream configuration is really impressive in the fact that now the jet stream is blowing cold air from Western Canada into the Eastern United States. There's this fairly deep trough in place by this point, by 31 January. So just keep that in mind. This is Friday, 3 February. And again, you got northwesterly wind flow at 30,000 feet blowing colder air into Southeast Virginia. We have to watch these little areas of higher wind speeds within the jet axis because they can originate storm systems. Storm systems tend to develop along these. Looking at the surface chart, you see we're down to 522 decameter thickness over Southeast Virginia on the 3rd of February. So please keep that in mind that we're in for a much colder pattern. The wind flow is much colder from the northwest. So we are expecting from the 28th of January to the 5th of February below normal temperatures and much colder conditions. We don't see any major winter storms on the horizon as of yet, but we'll keep an eye on things because we can get little clippers that come down from the northwest in this kind of flow, and we also can get storms develop in the Gulf and move up the East Coast. Now this was a real interesting chart here, polar vortex. Could this return in February and really impact the eastern United States with an extremely deep trough? It's going to be interesting to see. I want you to pay attention to the fact that this was February 27, 2014. This is where the polar vortex was. This is where we believe it will be on 1 February, okay, right around the Hudson Bay, Canada area. But notice the configurations are fairly similar in the jet stream. The jet stream is basically blowing from almost due north towards the southeast into Virginia. And here again, it's blowing from due north and then making a little bit more of a turn here, but it's fairly similar. Got to keep an eye on that. We're having a major stratospheric warming, and I talked a little bit about that on my last video. So the long-range final thoughts are the mild temperatures will continue through 27 January. That 27 January will remains a transition day as the pattern flip-flops from a warmer mild east to a much colder trough in the east. We're going to expect highs though with mild conditions through 27 January in the 50s and even into the lower 60s at times with lows in the 40s. And again, a major pattern change to much colder air starting 28 January. We expect the cold pattern below normal temperatures from 28 January to 5 February. We're expecting the core of the coldest temperatures to go from 30 January to 2 February. Those look like the coldest days out of that entire week, where we could see highs only reaching the upper 30s and lows into the 20s. We'll keep an eye to see if there's any storms on the horizon. With such cold air in place, it's possible we would see wintry precipitation. So again, a prolonged period of colder air is likely. Overall, from 28 January to 5 February, with high temps in the upper 30s to lower 40s, and low temps in the upper 20s to middle 30s. Again, the most intriguing thought and question of this video is, will the polar vortex weaken? Will it become displaced off the poles, with resulting wind flow blowing directly from the Arctic into the eastern U.S.? We're going to need a highly amplified ridge over western Canada in conjunction then with the very deep trough in the eastern United States. And if that scenario unfolds, temperatures will be even colder than what we're projecting right now. All right, so notice how you have a huge ridge over the west back in February 2014. And that's when conditions were very cold over here in the eastern United States into Southeast Virginia. So we'll watch to see if we find that on the charts, and we'll keep an eye on things. All right, so winter storms are more likely over the period. With the cold air in place, yes, they're very much a possibility. We do not see any major big-time snowstorms right now, but again, we'll keep an eye on things. All it takes is one of these little Alberta clippers to move through the northwesterly wind flow, to come down and dump 2 to 4 inches of snow on Southeast Virginia, and that'll be enough to really hamper the road conditions here. So we got to keep an eye on that. The other thing I wanted to mention is the other favorable area for snowstorms in February climatologically is the lows that develop in the Gulf of Mexico, and they move up along the east coast of the United States. With the cold air in place, as indicated by the latest forecast data here, very possible to have snow. If anything falls, any precip falls with this kind of cold air in place, very good probability it's going to be frozen precip. All right, so that wraps up my latest video. Again, very interesting pattern going to unfold from mild to much colder. Again, be very cautious of that as we get towards the 27th, the transition day, 27 January, from warm to cold, 28 January to 5 February. Looks like a colder than normal period. Remember to stay with us at Spot On Weather for all the latest forecasting for Southeast Virginia. And remember, we're Spot On Weather. If we're not spot on, we're not doing it right. Have a great Friday evening, everybody.